Hello, everybody. It's April Perry and Jonathan Bailor and my new dog, Sunny, with another episode of the SANE Show. Are you so excited, Jonathan?
We got the trifecta here. We have you, if you're only listening to this on iTunes or whichever
I
new
know.
magical service there is, you got to go to the SANE Solution website, click on blog, and look at the video because this dog is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, she's like a teddy bear and she's going to get bigger. But I was telling Jonathan, this is actually a big SANE move because when you get a dog, you are active. You're going outside. Like right now, we're going outside seriously like every 30 minutes so that she can, become house trained, which she's doing great. But we're going to be walking more. Our family's out and about. We're engaging more. Like we're having so much fun. We've been waiting for this little gal for a long time. And I was telling him, it's like, I won't say it's better than having a baby because I am in love with my 4 kids, but I will say I didn't have to lose any pregnancy weight, and it was like a little addition to the family that's made everything happy. So I'll set her down here. She'll kind of hang out while we're chatting.
And she just yawned 3 times. So again, you have to check out the video because she's over here. Apparently, we're not exciting enough for her because she's just getting out these big dog yawns, which are super
Oh
cute.
my gosh, so fun. So all right, just had to share the fun with our SANE family out there. So today we're talking about why SANE works amazingly well. And we're also talking about why The Biggest Loser doesn't. Now, we're not trying to call out the producers or the people who participate in The Biggest Loser because honestly, I know that the show is kind of created as a way to inspire people to be able to work hard and be able to make their health a priority. I understand that. But there was actually an article that came out just recently in the New York Times, and Jonathan said that he had like all these people asking him questions about it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, I'd love maybe to start with the article and talk about what it said. And then I would love to talk about why isn't that working and why is SANE different? Like, let's dig into the science a little bit and explain a little bit more, because from what I can tell from the messages I'm getting, people are with us on SANE. They're like, okay, I'm getting it, I'm listening, I'm trying it, I feel amazing, I feel great. Yeah, there's still questions, but people really want to know how they can get more of this. So does that sound good for today?
That sounds great. I've been waiting a long time to talk about this article, so I'm happy to have the opportunity to do it.
Okay, so just as far as initially what the article is saying, it looked like they just did, maybe you want to explain it if you know a little bit more than I do about the study that they did, but they just basically followed people who'd been on The Biggest Loser in season 8 and showed how even though they lost hundreds of pounds, that they were gaining it back and that their metabolisms had slowed so much that they honestly could, I think it was like 800 calories a day they could eat or something like that. I mean, ridiculously low calorie numbers they could eat, and it was just creeping back. This was not sustainable. So that's kind of the initial feeling that I got as I read it. Any other things you would add?
Yeah, what this article did really well and why I was happy to see it is what you see on the Biggest Loser show is what starvation dieting does well, which is cause rapid, significant weight loss.
Impressive.
Impressive weight loss. That's
Yeah.
television worthy. But then what happens after the show? And no one pays attention to that, right? Just like, you can go, to Las Vegas and you can go to the roulette table and you can say, I'll take my entire life savings, that my college education, tuition for my children, I'm going to bet it all on red. And then they spin the wheel and it lands on red and you're a genius, success, cut to black, you win. But then if you bet again and you get it wrong, like over time, that strategy will not work out over time. So what this article does is it actually looks at these contestants and it doesn't just say what, I've actually worked with like Jay and Jennifer Jacobs from The Biggest Loser for many years now. Derek, what's his name? Derek Johnson, who's actually one of the owners or co-founders of The Biggest Loser Resorts, which like the non-televised results have long been everyone gains everything back and more, and it's sad and it's heartbreaking. But what this article did was not only show that, but they actually dug in and explained a little bit like why. And the why is what we've talked about a lot, which is when you starve yourself, you actually cause further damage to your metabolism. And then when you stop starving yourself, your metabolism, instead of having just one hand tied behind its back, it now has both hands tied behind its back, and you're predisposed to gaining even more weight long term.
Yeah, and I'll just, what you're saying there, I was just looking at these last couple of paragraphs. I'll just read what it said there. It says, researchers knew that just about anyone who deliberately loses weight, even if they start at a normal weight or even underweight, will have a slower metabolism when the diet ends. So I think people, like, that, you read that in books all the time. They weren't surprised to see the Biggest Loser contestants had slow metabolisms when the show ended. What shocked the researchers was what happened next. As the years went by and the numbers on the scale climbed, the contestants' metabolisms did not recover. They became even slower and the pounds kept piling on. It was as if their bodies were intensifying their effort to pull the contestants back to their original weight. Okay, I just have to say, someone posted this in our SANE Families Facebook group, and the comments that were going on and the feeling, it was honestly like, we are so grateful for SANE. And it was almost like a somber thing, thinking about these people who are going through this starvation dieting every day. And it was just like this, it was a beautiful and painful feeling simultaneously, being so grateful for SANE on the one hand and feeling so sick for the people who don't know about it. So that's just kind of initially how I heard about the article.
Yeah, and it's incredibly heartbreaking, April, because, and this is why I wake up every day, because like we read this article and we say, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. Like, it was newsworthy. It's in the New York Times.
Yeah.
If you've read The Calorie Myth, at the beginning of chapter 4, I talk about a study that was done in 1984, which they did the exact same thing. They took people who weighed 338 pounds and they starved them down to 335 pounds. They starved them down to 220 pounds. And then they compared their base metabolic rate to people who naturally weighed 138 pounds. So you have people who weigh, so a 220 pound person,
okay,
compared to a 135 pound person.
Okay.
The 220 pound starvation dieter, they required 5% fewer calories per day than someone who weighs 82 pounds less than them.
Oh my gosh.
And this was done in 1984. So
okay,
so
the study should have been out there. Okay, here's a question though. When you say they require less, does that mean that they're less hungry?
When I say require less, I mean if they were to eat more. So in this, because this was a clinical study, so these people on average needed 2,171 calories per day to maintain their weight. So if they ate more than that, their weight would essentially sort of start to rise. So their body
most likely really hungrier than that though, right? Like, this doesn't mean that satisfies them. It means that if you eat any more than this, you're going to gain weight.
Correct. Let me actually rephrase. That's a great clarification. So this is a much better way to say it, actually. Their bodies required 2,171 calories per day before any other calories would be shuttled away as fat. So to sort of maintain their weight, that's how many calories their body would need. That says nothing about how many calories their brain is demanding those types of things. And there's another study, just not to geek out too much on the science, but the Calorie Myth book's got a lot of great science in it.
Yes.
There was another study done. We say, well, the demand to regain that weight, where in another starvation dieting, but what they did is what was interesting about this study is they came back a year later and they measured various hormone levels in the individuals. And they found, for example, that the hormone levels tied to hunger were super elevated. So these individuals were not only sort of pre-programmed,
but they're really hungry.
It's like their body was fighting harder than before the weight loss to take them up. And you say, that's crazy talk, unless you're familiar with the science backing SANE, which is, well, yeah, we have a set point weight. And until we heal the system, by starving ourselves, we actually further compromise the system. And then our brain, our hormones, and our gut are going to do everything in their power to take us back to that elevated set point weight and potentially even higher, because we've broken the system down further.
Okay, so this is why I love SANE. And because when I first heard you on a podcast and you started explaining this, logically, it finally made sense. It finally made sense. I didn't need to starve. I need to heal my metabolism. I need to eat nutritious foods, that it's possible. The thing was, I didn't know it was possible. But I want to share briefly a testimonial that came with this question, asking for you to comment on this New York Times article about The Biggest Loser. And she said, my first weight loss journey was similar to The Biggest Loser. Way less drastic, but she said, I think I'm paying for it a bit now. I had all the Biggest Loser books, the Biggest Loser calorie counting journals, workout videos, watched most of their shows, right? And I think a lot of America can say this. I mean, I remember my son, Spencer, he was like 5, and he said, when I get older, I want to be really fat so I can be on The Biggest Loser. I mean, that was like a goal he set for himself because he thought it like looked exciting what they were doing. I mean, okay, so the United States, I mean, worldwide, like this is an issue. But here's what she said. Now that I'm sane, I know what it feels like to be able to eat whenever I'm hungry. I realize I no longer binge eat, except on veggies, so the guilt is gone. Getting rid of sugar has been relatively painless, and it is something I think I can stick to mostly. I struggle with time preparing food, but I think it's worth it. I feel proud of the way I eat, and I know I'm setting a good example for my family. Like, oh, I love that. I hope that my daughter doesn't have to go through all the yo-yo diets that I did in my early life. Okay, Jonathan, you've got to feel great, like knowing that you're making this huge impact in other people's lives.
I do. I love hearing those stories. And I mean, but here's my flaw is every time I hear one of those stories, I say, oh my goodness, like we need to like, we have to do more, right? Like this is not, it's
you
not
can't just
enough.
sit on this information.
Too many other people continue to struggle. And especially like the thing which is really not fun to talk about is the more deeply we understand the metabolic consequences of starvation dieting, the more we understand like it's more analogous. Like if you take a piece of fragile china, I mean, your body is beautiful, delicate, very intricate, and you take the china vase and you drop it off the counter and it shatters all over the floor, you damage it. I mean, like, yeah, you can put it back together, but it might have some cracks and crevices and it's never going to quite look the same. What we're starting to understand more and more is like, we love to have the concept that, oh, I'll make up for it later, or it's okay, it's just temporary. When we do these extreme starvation diets or these detox, crazy cleanse things, we're learning now that there is some damage there that's really long lasting. And yes, we can recover from it, but it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, it's a little bit more analogous to, yeah, definitely stop smoking. And if you, with proper exercise and proper diet, you can reverse the damage that's been done to your lungs. But on some level, we know smoking is so scary because it's going to do some damage that we may not be able to completely fix in the future. So when we see our friends and our family and people we care about falling victim to these starvation dieting tactics, when we start to understand that there's a strong possibility that they are permanently predisposing themselves to struggle even more for the rest of their lives, you want to just say like, I mean, just like there's warning labels on cigarettes, I almost want like Weight Watchers packaged meals to have a warning label on them, which is, smoking may cause birth defects. Eating this may cause long-term weight gain and depression, because that's what it does.
Okay, well, and that's why I'm recording with you. And the people who are here listening to the podcast, we depend on you to help spread the word, help to get this out to people, because this isn't something like, oh, we're trying to show a new sane diet and Jonathan came up with this new diet. I mean, it's not like that at all. It's like it's time to heal all of the people who have been victims of misinformation. And it's not your fault if you try to count calories. I mean, my mom did it, I did it, my children did it. I mean, that's how we thought we were supposed to do it. If I had known that I was creating long-term and potentially, damaging my body, I would never have counted my calories, but I thought I was doing something good. I thought that I was, people were congratulating me for it and I was feeling accomplished. So I think that we need to first of all, acknowledge that those who are trying to starve themselves typically think that they're doing something right. And that that just simply isn't true. But SANE is right. We're going to talk about why it is. And this is where I love to talk a little bit about the science behind the SANE. And I'll turn this over to Jonathan, but I'll kind of clarify the question. This is what came in from the same individual who shared the Biggest Loser article, but said, I need it explained to me so it sticks in my subconscious or something, because the idea of the clogged sink, I need to understand it. Some people have said, well, you're losing weight on SANE because when you eat those vegetables, you're consuming less calories. So she's like, so is that it? I'm just eating so many vegetables that my calories are lower? Or how are we doing damage to our bodies when we restrict our diets to this 1,200 to 1,500 calories? And then I love this question. Would we damage our bodies if we ate sanely, but just didn't eat enough SANE foods and didn't get enough calories? Like, what's the process our bodies are going through? So, okay, Jonathan, here you go.
There are two very important factors to keep in mind here. One is energy or calories. And then there is, to simplify things, because we don't have all day and it could take all day to explain, is everything else that's essential for human life. So calories, energy is essential for human life, right? If you don't eat calories, you starve to death and you die. So they're an essential nutrient. Then you have things like vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, everything else you need to live. Now, if you don't eat enough essential vitamins and minerals, you get sick. That's why they're called essential, like scurvy, rickets, things like that. But if you don't eat enough vitamins and minerals and things like that, you'll also experience other diseases. One of them is called obesity. Another one's called diabetes. Another one's called heart disease. We generally don't think about them that way, but that's what happens. These are diseases which are caused by a breakdown in the way your body works. So if you're not taking in enough essential nutrition, you will get diseases and your life won't go as well as you'd like it to. And if you're not taking in enough energy, your body will start to shut down and you'll experience bad results. Now, you may burn off some stored energy in the short term. That's the fat loss. But again, you're not providing your body with enough essential nutrition. So you're actually building up a disease state underneath the surface. Now, to answer the question of, well, when I eat sanely, I accidentally only eat 1,600 calories per day. Well, first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that if you become completely full and satisfied, taking in a huge amount of essential nutrition, and then your body automatically says, I have 100,000 calories already stored inside me in terms of body fat, so I'm going to just start burning that. And because I'm burning that for energy, I'm going to tell the brain, hey, you don't need to eat as many calories because I've already got some stored inside me. That's like a totally different dynamic than starving yourself, because you're not actually starving yourself. You're still eating, but it's just coming off your hips rather than passing through your lips. So you do experience what's called a spontaneous reduction of caloric intake when you go SANE. But it's not because you're hungry. It's not because you're starving yourself. It's because your body is re-regulating your appetite. Because think about it. If you have 100 pounds of excess fat on your body, that's like 350,000 calories already inside you. So, I mean, here's the real question to ask. Why is someone who has 350,000 calories inside them already ever hungry?
Okay.
Right? So it's, yes, you are eating fewer calories through your mouth. And yes, you do need to have your body, you need to restore your body's ability to metabolize calories that are stored within it. But that doesn't happen unless you take in the nutrition necessary, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, things like that, to heal your body, to resensitize those neurotransmitters, those hormones, those digestive components of your body to say, look, re-regulate my appetite, start to heal myself. And yes, of course, your appetite will go down, because if you're eating higher satiety foods, if you're eating foods that are 3 times as filling neurologically and physiologically, well, then of course it takes way more Pringles by their own admission to make you feel full than it does if you eat salmon. We know that doesn't mean you're starving yourself. It means that you're eating foods that satisfy you faster. So no one's saying calories don't matter. No one's saying that eating 5,000 calories will help you lose weight. What we are saying is it's a combination. It's actually not a combination. It's using food quality to restore your body's ability to manage calorie quantity automatically. That's the distinction.
Okay. And I think that explains it really well for me. I mean, as I found, as I was eating a ton more vegetables and as I was filling myself up and eating this dense food, right, nutrient dense food that was filling me up, that I didn't even think about it. And sometimes I wonder, how many calories am I eating? Should I count them again just to check? But I have too many other things I want to think about. I don't want to worry about calories anymore. But I love that you're showing us how we can help our body learn to burn excess fat because it now has this high quality food inside of it, so all its needs are met.
That's exactly right. Let me answer the two other sort of very specific questions that were written in here. Would we damage our body if we ate sanely but just didn't eat enough sane foods and didn't get enough calories? So here's one way to think about this. If you don't eat enough vitamin C, yes, your body's being damaged. Right? Like we know that.
Let's say I ate just 2 sane meals a day. Let's say I wasn't actually getting to the 10 servings of vegetables. Maybe I had just a couple servings of vegetables. I ate all sane foods, but just a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night. Then that would be damaging.
I'm going to answer that question in a way that hopefully makes it like, this isn't what I think. This is what we would all agree with. Okay. Having a nutrient deficiency is bad. Like that's why people take multivitamins. So yes, if you're not eating enough nutrition, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, I didn't say calories because your body can sometimes supplement, like you can store calories and burn them off. Your body doesn't hoard vitamin C for when it runs out, it can then use some of its own. So that's why eating enough non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein is essential. And you can't overeat those things. You'd never eat 3,000 calories of non-starchy vegetables and nutrient-dense protein. Your stomach would explode.
Okay. All right. So have we gone through all those questions? Are there any others we got to? We want to make sure that we eat enough, that we're full. We want to make sure that we're getting enough nutrition. And I think that it makes sense to me. So as far as scientifically what our bodies are going through, it's like when we go more sane at 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, that's just the metabolism continuing to heal itself. Is that how you would explain it?
Yeah. So there's another part of the paragraph that accounts for this question is, some people told me you're just losing weight because when you eat vegetables, you're consuming less calories. But is it more than that? Why exactly? That's a great question. And there's a book that's called The Calorie Myth that goes deep into the science of exactly how this works. And then it's got 1,300 scientific references that will explain the biomechanics of every aspect of it. So unfortunately, we can't get into that in this show, but I've got a whole lot more information if you're interested.
The audiobook, and one of the things, so Sunny has now fallen asleep by my feet. She was yawning because she's a little tired, But one of the things that I think has been interesting is that when we get this dog, there's specific food that we're supposed to feed to her. Okay, and there's specific foods we're not supposed to feed to her. You give her the food that her body needs to grow and thrive, then she regulates it, right? She knows when to go to her bowl. She knows when she's hungry. She's doing a great job growing and doing amazingly well. And I think that when we feed ourselves food that was designed for humans, right? We're not eating all these corn syrups and all the sugar and the processed nonsense, as you call it. That when we eat the food that's right for our bodies and we focus on that quality, like it's amazing to see what happens naturally. And you've just completely transformed the way that I look at this. I had no idea. I didn't know that it was possible to never be hungry, to eat wonderful food that I enjoy, and to be able to have a body that I feel good about. That when I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking about my calories. I'm not feeling depressed if I haven't gone out and gone running every day. Like I feel so good and so happy. And I feel like I can be normal, and just being able to enjoy my life. That's what SANE's done for me. So next action, what would you suggest, Jonathan?
I want to give sort of a joking next action and a serious next action, because you just said words that I can't top. Those are beautiful words. So the serious next action is to, if at all possible, whenever you think of taking any lifestyle change, independent of whether it has anything to do with eating or exercise, say, is what I'm going to do something I can keep up for the long term? Because as we're seeing here with The Biggest Loser, short-term success can sometimes lead to long-term suboptimality, so not success. So just ask yourself that question. And the funny, joking next action is, if you want to know the hardcore mechanisms of why eating nutritious food until you're full heals your body, go to Google and type in negative adiposity feedback loop, type in metabolic dysregulation, and type in homeostatic regulation of weight. Do those 3 search terms and enjoy, because you're going to get a bunch of scientific papers that are going to make you happy and probably really bored, but there's a lot of great information out there.
All right, wonderful job. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And thank you for joining us at the SANE Show. Please share SANE. Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's help reshape the way our society views dieting and health and food. So have a wonderful day, and remember to stay sane.